Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we cut through all the hype to uncover the AI insights that really matter. Today, we're diving headfirst into a battle that's got everyone talking. DeepSeek v3 versus ChatGPT 4.0.
It's the AI showdown everyone's been waiting for. We've got YouTube videos, articles. Heck, we've even got some leaked insider info comparing these two AI powerhouses across all sorts of tasks. It's like the AI Olympics, but instead of track and field, we're talking about code sprints and reasoning marathons.
And what's really shaking things up is DeepSeek v3. This open-source model was developed by a Chinese AI firm, and it's going toe-to-toe with the champ, ChatGPT, and sometimes even winning.
Yeah.
And get this. DeepSeek was built on like a shoestring budget compared to some of its rivals.
That's right. DeepSeek v3 is turning heads because it's taking on ChatGPT in areas like coding, translation, even complex reasoning, the stuff that really pushes AI to its limits.
So let's introduce our contenders. In this corner, we have DeepSeek v3. This model uses a really fascinating mixture of experts architecture, or MoE for short. Imagine instead of using its entire AI brain for every task, it only activates the expert modules that are relevant for that specific job.
Exactly. This targeted approach makes DeepSeek incredibly efficient, like having a whole team of specialized AI agents ready to tackle any challenge without wasting any processing power. And they've even fine-tuned a specific model called DeepSeek R1 to take on OpenAI's O1 model in reasoning tasks.
And in the other corner, the reigning champ, ChatGPT 4.0, the AI that needs no introduction. It's famous for its natural conversation, creative writing, and a whole bunch of other applications.
ChatGPT has definitely earned its reputation as the go-to AI, even with the paid subscription.
Yeah.
It's just so user-friendly and accessible.
Okay, enough introductions. Let's get ready to rumble. We'll start with a writing challenge. Based on what we've seen, ChatGPT is really good at blog-style writing and creative writing. But DeepSeek is a beast when it comes to academic writing and citing research.
It's almost like DeepSeek was made for students and researchers. One source even had them write a graduate-level paper on employability. And DeepSeek not only nailed the academic tone, but it also found some really impressive references.
So if you're ever struggling with a research paper deadline, DeepSeek might be your new best friend. But can DeepSeek write a good story? Can it spin a yarn that will keep you on the edge of your seat?
Well, one source tested that with a time travel story prompt. ChatGPT came up with a story that was full of vivid imagery and engaging prose, while DeepSeek's story felt a little more, straightforward.
It sounds like ChatGPT takes the crown for creative storytelling. But let's move on to coding. Both models seem to be pretty skilled in this area.
Yeah, absolutely. In one test, they were asked to create code for a cafe website. Both DeepSeek and ChatGPT were able to create code that worked, but DeepSeek has this cool feature that lets you run the code directly within the model. You get instant feedback on your work.
Okay, that's pretty useful, like having a coding buddy built right in. Let's try something a little more complex. Sentiment analysis. AI is getting better and better at understanding human emotions, but how do these two stack up?
Well, one source tested them with a sentence that expressed kind of mixed emotions about a new job. ChatGPT 4.0 got it right, identified the overall sentiment as negative, and even figured out that the main feeling was being overwhelmed. DeepSeek missed part of the instructions, though, which shows how important it is to give your AI clear and concise prompts.
So even the smartest AI needs a good director. Let's test their brains now with some complex reasoning.
One source gave them a really tricky logic puzzle involving train passengers and different station stops. And with this one, DeepSeek just blew it out of the water. It got the right answer, of course, but it also explained its reasoning step by step, even used a table to make things visually clear.
Wow, that's some serious problem-solving skills. How did ChatGPT do?
ChatGPT got the answer right, but its explanation wasn't as detailed. DeepSeek's approach is super valuable when you don't just need to know the answer, but also the why behind it.
So if you're facing a real head-scratcher, DeepSeek might be your go-to brainiac. Now let's see how they do with math. Can they crunch the numbers?
Oh, absolutely. One source gave them some tough algebra problems, the kind you'd see on a practice GRE exam. DeepSeek aced the second problem while ChatGPT stumbled a bit.
It seems like DeepSeek might be the one to call for your math homework. But what about those of us who are drowning in data? Can these models make sense of it all?
This is where things get really interesting. One source asked them to analyze a large CSV file. DeepSeek dove right into the data, while ChatGPT was more cautious, first giving a structured overview, even pointing out potential problems like missing data points. It's like it was saying, hold on, let's make sure this data is clean before we jump to conclusions.
That's a smart move. I'd rather my AI point out potential issues than mislead me. So which approach is better?
It depends on what you need. If you need a deep dive into the data itself, DeepSeek's your guy. But if the data is messy, ChatGPT's careful approach could save you from making mistakes. Now, speaking of research, let's see how they do with that.
One source tested their ability to pull the top 5 trending AI news stories of the day. Both did okay, but DeepSeek had a habit of finding a lot of sources in Chinese.
Yeah, understandable given where it came from, but maybe not so helpful if you don't read Mandarin. That source recommended sticking with dedicated research tools for the most reliable and up-to-date info.
Makes sense. So we've seen DeepSeek and ChatGPT go head-to-head in writing, coding, reasoning, and even data analysis. But there's one big question we need to answer. Why does DeepSeek sometimes claim to be ChatGPT?
It's like it's having an AI identity crisis.
And what does DeepSeek's Chinese ownership mean for the rest of the world? These are questions we'll explore in part 2 of our deep dive. Buckle up because things are about to get interesting.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we got sidetracked, we were about to unravel one of the most peculiar things about DeepSeek v3. Sometimes it claims to be ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's like it's having an AI existential crisis or something. Who am I? Am I the underdog or the superstar? Why does it do that?
Well, the most likely reason has to do with DeepSeek's training data. Remember, these models learn from massive amounts of text and code. It's possible that DeepSeek was trained on a lot of stuff that was actually created by ChatGPT.
So it's kind of like when a student accidentally copies their classmate's writing style.
That's a great way to put it, only instead of words on paper, we're talking about patterns in data. DeepSeek might have absorbed some of ChatGPT's quirks and even its personality without even realizing it.
That brings up a really interesting question about the future of AI. Could all these models start to blend together and become less unique over time? Like, will we get to a point where all AI sounds and acts the same?
It's a question that's causing a lot of debate in the AI community. One of the sources we looked at quoted Mike Cook, a researcher at King's College London, and he said, obviously, the model is seeing raw responses from ChatGPT at some point. It could be accidental. But unfortunately, we've seen instances of people directly training their models on the outputs of other models to try and piggyback off their knowledge.
So it could be innocent mimicry, or it could be a sneaky strategy to steal another model's secret sauce. Either way, it's kind of creepy, right? What would happen if all AI became the same?
Some experts think this could lead to a future where AI is less diverse. They might all have the same abilities and even the same personalities. Can you imagine a world where all AI sounds and acts exactly alike? That wouldn't be very fun, would it?
I definitely prefer AI that has some personality. But not everyone agrees with this idea of AI convergence. Another source pointed out what Heidi Klopf, the chief AI scientist at the nonprofit AI Now Institute, had to say. She argued that even if models are trained on similar data, they won't necessarily end up as identical clones.
That's a good point. The training process, the algorithms they use, even the order the data is presented in all of that can shape a model's unique character. It's kind of like baking a cake. You can give 10 bakers the exact same recipe, but you'll still end up with 10 slightly different cakes.
I like that analogy.
Huh.
Makes me feel a little better about the future of AI individuality. Now let's switch gears and talk about something else that's important. DeepSeek's Chinese ownership.
This raises some interesting questions about the global AI landscape, especially when it comes to the cost of using these powerful tools. And that brings us to the next part of our deep dive.
Get ready for a price comparison that's going to blow your mind. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll explore the economics of AI and what it means for the future of innovation. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've seen DeepSeek v3 go up against ChatGPT in a bunch of AI challenges, but now let's talk about something that doesn't always get enough attention.
Cost.
Yeah, the economics of AI. Because even the most amazing AI is useless if nobody can afford it.
Exactly. So let's cut to the chase. How much do these AI tools actually cost? One of the best things about DeepSeek v3 is that it's open source. That means for basic use, it's totally free.
Crazy, right? An AI this powerful available to anyone who has internet access.
That's amazing. It's like AI for everyone. But what about people who need more than just the basics? You know, like developers, businesses, researchers who want to use DeepSeek in their own projects.
That's where API pricing comes in. Think of an API like a bridge that lets different software programs talk to each other and share information. API pricing is basically the toll you pay to use that bridge.
So if you want your app to use DeepSeek's powers, you got to pay for it each time it does something.
Right. And this is where DeepSeek really shakes things up. Their API pricing is way lower than the competition. I mean, we're talking about a real game changer for developers and startups who don't have tons of money to throw around.
Okay, give me some numbers. How big is this price difference? One source pointed out DeepSeek Reasoner, which is based on their R1 model. Its API costs just Speshboard 55 cent per million input tokens and 2.19 cents per million output tokens. Now compare that to OpenAI's O1 model, which costs a crazy 15 hours per $1 million input tokens and 60 per $1 million output tokens.
Wow, DeepSeek is practically giving it away. No wonder OpenAI is sweating.
It's a huge deal, especially for people who couldn't afford to use AI before. And it's not just the API pricing. Training DeepSeek v3 was way cheaper than training models like GPT-4. They're showing the world that you don't need $1 billion to build amazing AI.
It's like DeepSeek is changing the whole game. What does this mean for the future of AI?
Well, this shift towards more affordable and accessible AI could lead to a boom in creativity and innovation, especially from smaller companies and individual developers who were left out before because of the high cost.
It's a really cool idea, right? A more diverse and exciting AI landscape where the best ideas win, not just the people with the most money.
Exactly. Even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, kind of acknowledged this when he said, "It is relatively easy to copy something that you know works. It is extremely hard to do something new, risky, and difficult when you don't know if it will work."
It sounds like he knows that DeepSeek is shaking things up and making everyone rethink how AI is developed.
It's the kind of thing that can push the whole field forward in a good way.
So what does all this mean for you, dear listener? It means the power of AI is becoming more accessible than ever. Whether you're a developer, a researcher, or just curious about the possibilities, there are so many options out there for you to explore, experiment with, and even contribute to this amazing AI revolution.
We're seeing AI become more democratic, and that's something to be excited about.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep asking questions, and stay tuned to the deep dive as we keep digging into the mysteries and possibilities of this ever-changing world of AI.
Until next time, keep diving deep.